Shattered and Splintered is a charity horror anthology of 20 terrifying tales from the cracks that lie between perception and reality. Featuring stories from Stephen Graham Jones, Gwendolyn Christie, Eric LaRocca, Vincent V. Cava, Gemma Amor, Laurel Hightower, Gabino Iglesias, and many more. Grab a copy today, available at aeapress.com and on Amazon. All proceeds benefit the Glen Haven Area Volunteer Fire Department near Estes Park. Maybe the head was fake. It was the only explanation that made sense. Ellen was a kindergarten teacher, for Christ's sake. One who volunteered at a pet shelter taking care of dogs and cats that were too ugly to adopt. On their first date, she had shown Mike pictures of the summer that she spent abroad in Guatemala, building homes for the poor and teaching literacy to villagers. It wasn't even one of those kooky religious missions either. She just genuinely wanted to help people. In the 3 weeks Mike had known her, he had never heard Ellen cuss, complain, or utter a snide remark about anyone. And that includes the jack-off whose phone kept going off in the movie theater during their date earlier that night. Ellen was a good person. Perhaps the sweetest, kindest, most understanding person he knew. So the sheer, unmitigated mind fuck he was currently experiencing was understandable after he opened the fridge and found himself staring directly into the eyes of a severed human head. This not head, which was how Mike was now thinking of it in an effort to preserve his sanity, was positioned upright from the stump of its neck atop a ceramic serving dish that read, "Live, Laugh, Love," in a flowery cursive font. Its bushy gray beard trailed down the shelf below and into a matching ceramic bowl, where it mingled with what looked to be leftover pasta carbonara, perhaps a few days old. The face had 2 piercings, one being a chunky brass hoop that hung from the nose's septum like a bull ring. The other was a gaudy gold hunk of jewelry encrusted in faux diamonds that dangled from the left earlobe and spelled out "stud muffin" in big bulky letters. It was an ugly knothead, which Mike thought was ironic considering the earring, though not nearly as ironic as the fact that he had found it in the refrigerator of a woman he had just spent the last 37 minutes making hot, steamy love to. He cursed himself. If only he hadn't gone all out during sex, he could still be lying naked in bed with the most beautiful woman he'd ever known, face buried in her bountiful bosom, blissfully unaware of the horror sitting between the carton of oat milk and tub of Miracle Whip on the second shelf of her refrigerator. But no. He just had to help himself to a bottle of water, rehydrate and replenish for round 2, he thought. What a mistake. Now he was standing in her kitchen, Donald ducking it in nothing but an Aerosmith t-shirt, and debating whether or not he should go back to grab his pants or just run screaming from the apartment, fanny glistening in the moonlight. "There you are. I thought I lost you." Mike whirled around to see Ellen behind him, sprouting a devilish grin. She was sexier than ever in a black lace nightie that fit so snugly around the curves of her body, it might as well have been painted on. She hadn't taken the time to tame her bedhead, but that didn't matter at all. In fact, it made her even more seductive. Like an exotic jungle animal in heat that had just slinked out of a bush and was ready to pounce. Her plump red lips were so inviting that Mike almost leaned in to kiss them, but then he remembered the severed head in her fridge, and he felt his libido fizzle out. "Oh, are you hungry?" she asked. "No, I'm fine." Actually, he had been famished just a few minutes ago, but the head had put a damper on his appetite. "It's just that I got a little distracted, because of the head in your fridge." Ellen's eyes shot open. "Why? What's wrong with it?" She pushed past Mike and started examining the head, first opening the eyes with her fingers like an optometrist getting ready to dilate them, then one by one combing her way through the mouth, nostril, and ears. Mike cleared his throat, hoping to recapture Ellen's attention from whatever it was she was doing. "It's a head. That's what's wrong with it. he said, and then attempted to bring the moment back down to earth. Is it real? What do you mean? Are you asking me if you're imagining a head in my fridge? Don't worry, Mike, you aren't experiencing a psychotic episode. I'm aware the head in your fridge isn't a psychotic hallucination. I'm asking you if it's an actual human head or if it's like a cake or something. Ellen raised an eyebrow at the question. She was gawking at him as if he had asked the dumbest thing she'd ever heard. Her face was so perplexed and bemused by what he had just said that Mike couldn't help but shrink a little. Why would I have a head-shaped cake in my fridge? She started laughing. Great. Now he had to double down and defend his pride. I don't know. I've seen those crazy baking shows on TV. People can make cakes look like anything these days. Yeah, but a head? She wiped a tear from her cheek. Why wouldn't I bake a cake that looked like the Empire State Building or a rocket ship, or at least one that looked like the head of a famous person? I don't have an answer for that, Ellen, but we're kind of getting away from the main point here. If that isn't a head-shaped cake in your fridge, then you're telling me it's an actual severed human head? Well, yeah. It's a lot simpler than the whole cake thing, don't you think? She folded her arms over her chest, and for a moment there was only silence in the kitchen as both parties were relieved that, at the very least, the cake conversation had run its course. This relief was only fleeting, though, as it opened up a far bigger problem that now needed to be addressed. Why do you have a human head in your fridge? Mike blurted out. To keep it cold, duh. Have you ever smelled a human head after it goes bad? That just makes me think that this isn't your first head. Ellen snorted. I've had a few. Mike took a deep exhale and massaged his temples. He was starting to feel a migraine building behind his eyes. To make things worse, Ellen was making a joke out of the whole head thing. He mustered the most sober tone he could in order to steer the discussion into a more dignified direction, which was already a challenge since he wasn't wearing pants. You're obviously not taking this very seriously, he said. What are you doing with a human head in your fridge? Ellen placed her hand on her hip and grunted. She was tired of the conversation and just wanted to get back to cuddling. I'm going to eat the head, Mike. Like with a knife and fork? I don't even use chopsticks when I eat Chinese. She broached a flirty, dizzy smile and twirled her hair around her finger. I'm way too clumsy. When you say Chinese, are you talking about that takeout place around the corner, or... I mean chow mein, pot stickers, mushu chicken, and no, before you ask, I've never eaten a Chinese head. They're usually white dudes like this one. But I don't want you to think I have a preference or anything. I'm an equal opportunity kind of girl. Mike stared at Ellen dumbfounded for what felt like eons. The gorgeous, sweet woman, whom he had fallen so hard for over the past few weeks, had just admitted to him that she ate human heads. He uttered his next question, unsure if he wanted to hear the answer. Whose head is in the fridge, Ellen? I don't know. I don't source my heads. Do you source your eggs, Mr. Ethical Consumption? For your information, I do source my eggs. I only buy from free-range chicken farms, but that's besides the point. Which is that my girlfriend has a human head in her fridge. She's planning on eating it, and she can't even tell me where it came from. Whoa. Slow down a second. Ellen's smile had vanished. Girlfriend? Dude, we just had sex for the first time. Don't you think you're taking things a little fast? Mike had to admit that those words stung a bit. Normally, he would have been more embarrassed by her reaction, but the sight of the severed head in Ellen's fridge helped to push back any feelings of guilt or shame that he might have been harboring. Okay, that's a discussion for another time, he said. Kind of an important one, don't you think? Sure. Maybe I jumped the gun on the whole girlfriend thing. I'm sorry. I thought you liked me. She approached him carefully, feeling him out at first, then wrapping her arms around his waist. I like you a whole lot, Mike. She pressed herself close to him and began to rub his back. He could smell the shampoo on her hair and briefly considered kissing her again. And I like you, he replied. Or, well, I thought I did, but then I found a severed head in your refrigerator, and you told me you're planning on eating it. She released the hug and started pouting. It seemed as if she was on the verge of tears. And that's a deal breaker to you? Her voice was cracking. I would say so! You can't just go around killing people and eating their heads! Who said I killed him? I told you I don't even know whose head it is. Do you think I just point a guy out to my head people and say, he looks delicious, decapitate him, I'll eat his head? You have head people? Well, yeah. It's not like they sell heads at Whole Foods. And even if they did, they'd probably be overpriced. He couldn't argue that point. I mean, in a parallel fucked up universe where Whole Foods sold human heads, he figured they'd slap an all-natural sticker on the forehead and mark them up 15% higher than other supermarket food chains. You don't want to eat my head, do you? Ellen laughed. I just had sex with you. Why would I want to eat your head? The female praying mantis eats the head of males that it mates with. Ellen began mimicking a praying mantis, pecking at Mike's chest with her fingers as if they were pinchers. Buzz, buzz, I'm Madam Mantis. I'm gonna eat your head, Mike. The praying mantis doesn't make a buzzing sound. They hiss. Ellen dropped the charade. Her ploy to lighten the mood was not working. You're really upset about this? She asked. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna come out and say it. I'm uncomfortable with the whole cannibalism? Okay, I guess it's technically cannibalism, sure. But it's not like I eat the rest of the body, it's just the heads, understand? I'm not some weirdo sauteing nipples or slow roasting peckers in my crock pot. That doesn't make it any better. What if he was a family man? What if there's some little kid out there sitting in a parking lot waiting for his dad to come pick him up from ball practice and you have his head in the fridge? Ellen glanced at the head, then back to Mike. Oh, come on, you really think Stud Muffin over there was a family man? I mean, he could have been. He could have cured cancer. And he could have been a drug dealer or a serial killer. He could have been one of those people that comes into a restaurant 5 minutes before closing and demands to be seated. Do these thoughts go through your head when you're chowing down a chicken sandwich? Do you think, oh my God, I might be eating chicken Jesus right now? Mike waved the analogy away. That man is dead, and you're eating his head. That's wrong, period. That's more than wrong. It's... His face twisted into a sneer. Disgusting! Disgusting? I'll have you know that not only are heads delicious, but they're a lot more nutritious than most of the other crud people shove down their gullets. You eat fast food, right? I mean, yeah, but do you have any idea how much shit is in a hamburger patty? I'm talking literal cow shit, Mike. There are laws about how much cow shit can be in a hamburger patty, and that quantity is greater than 0. Do you know how much cow shit is in a human head? 0. There is a grand total sum of 0 cow shit in a human head. Now tell me, what's more disgusting? Tears were flowing now. Ellen was getting flustered. Head or no head, guilt was creeping its way through Mike's consciousness. He tried to put his arm around her, but she shrugged him off. People always think I'm a freak when they find out I eat heads. Isn't there someone out there who can just accept me for my dietary choices? It was then they heard a scream. It was a terrible, guttural scream. For a moment, Mike thought that it sounded as if an evil, demonic goat had somehow crept up from the bowels of hell, snuck into Ellen's fridge while they were arguing, and was now announcing his presence by unleashing upon them a tirade of torturous, whooping death cries. As frightening and ghastly as the scenario was, Mike would have welcomed it over what he realized was actually taking place. When his eyes followed the abhorrent howls, it became clear that Baphomet had not suddenly materialized inside of Ellen's refrigerator. Neither had Black Phillip or Master Leonard, for that matter. There was, however, the severed head. It was still sitting on the shelf like a bloated, saggy turkey carcass, but much to Mike's dismay, it now appeared to be screaming. "Oh, crud!" Ellen shouted. She shut the door, which only managed to muffle the screams a little bit. "The head is alive?" Mike said. "No, I mean, I don't know," Ellen responded. "How could it be?" "You tell me! You're the head expert. Has this ever happened to you before? Of course not. And if it did, I would definitely hire new head people. She leaned her weight against the door as though she was worried the head would soon grow limbs and try to force itself out, a concern they both would have considered absurd before the screaming had begun. How is it doing that? Mike asked. Does it even have vocal cords? Ellen shrugged. This is a new experience for me too. They waited, shoulders braced against the refrigerator door, listening to the severed head wail on and on for minutes until, mercifully, the screaming started to subside. An uncanny hush that fell over the kitchen. Unsure of what to do next, they shot each other a pair of nervous glances. Should we look inside? Mike asked. Ellen didn't want to open the door. Instead, she would have liked to chain it shut, drive the fridge to the nearest bridge, dump it in the river, and forget the whole incident ever happened. This, of course, was an unrealistic plan, and she knew it. There was no way she'd be able to strap the massive refrigerator to the top of her tiny hatchback, and even if she could, what would she say to the cops if they pulled her over for speeding and the head started screaming again? I'm sorry, officer. I really should have thrown that pasta carbonara out last week when I noticed it started getting moldy. She decided to follow Mike's lead on this one. The two prepared for whatever unholy hell spawn was waiting for them inside the fridge by arming themselves with kitchen utensils. Once sufficiently equipped, they wrapped their fingers around the door handle and nodded to each other in tandem. On three, Mike said, raising a spatula over his head with his free hand, as though it were a medieval mace. 1, 2, Ellen said, her voice cracking half a dozen times over the course of a single syllable. 3. They flung the door open and let out a fierce shout, ready to do battle with the enemy lurking inside, but the sight they were greeted with disarmed them immediately, and within moments their war cries had dwindled to little more than puzzled stares, head-scratching, and incoherent murmurs. There before them was the head. He was gazing up from its shelf, very much alive and smiling cordially. Hey, it said. They continued to stare at the head, eyes wide and mouths agape, until Ellen summoned the strength to answer it. Hey, she said back. Hey, Mike repeated. Do you guys think you can lend me a hand? Asked the head. Cold in here. I'd say I'm freezing my ass off, but as you can see, I don't have one. Mike and Ellen each grabbed the side of the serving dish, lifting it from the fridge, then placing it down on the kitchen counter beside the stove. Thanks, said the head. Sorry about the screaming. I just snapped back into consciousness. It was kind of a gnarly experience. Hope it didn't freak you out too much. So, are you a magic head or something? Mike asked. Magic how? Are you asking if I grant wishes? Well, do you? I don't think so, said the head. But if I did, I'd ask you to wish for some pants. Kind of lame that the first thing I have to see after coming back to life is your dingaling flopping around. What's your name? Asked Ellen. Bud, the head shot her a wink. But you can call me Stud Muffin. I have a question, Stud Muffin, said Mike. You can't call me that, said the head. Just the babe over there. Sorry. Bud? Are you okay? Bud, the head closed his eyes to ponder the question. Yeah, I guess so. Aside from the waking up and disembodied head thing. Do you need to go to the hospital? Asked Ellen. I don't think there's much doctors can do for me, answered the head. Maybe they could give you a new robot body, said Mike. Bud laughed so hard at the suggestion, he began wobbling on his plate, almost tipping over. Robot body? What kind of fantasy world are you living in? That's ridiculous. As ridiculous as a talking head? Mike snapped. He let out a groan. Things had been spiraling out of control before the head demonstrated consciousness. Now the entire world had been flipped upside down. What's wrong, Mike? Ellen moved in close and tried to give him a hug, but he placed a hand on her chest to stop her. He took a step back to put some distance between them. 10 minutes ago, nothing was wrong, he grumbled. I was perfectly happy and horny. And then I found out you enjoy eating human heads. And now I'm talking to one. On your kitchen counter. Oh, snap, said Bud. You were going to eat me? In my defense, I thought you were dead, said Ellen. Yeah, that's fair, said Bud. How is that fair? Shouted Mike. I'm sensing some trouble in paradise over here. If Bud had hands, he would have used them to gesture towards Mike and Ellen as he said that, but he didn't, so instead he flicked his tongue at them, which came off as more obscene than intended. Nobody commented on it, but he could tell everyone in the room thought it was weird, so he made a mental note not to do it again. Would you guys like some privacy? No, you should hear this too, said Mike. Ellen, when I met you, you were the girl of my dreams. You were kind, you were sweet, you were beautiful, but I guess it was too good to be true. Now, I'm not sure what to think of you. Ellen's shoulders dropped. I think the world of you, Mike. You're funny, you're charming, attentive. Hell, you're the first guy to ever make me climax. Oh, boy! Cried the head. Ellen disregarded Bud's outburst and continued. I'm really into you, but I can't change who I am. If you can't accept a partner who eats heads, then maybe we shouldn't see each other anymore. You really think I'm funny? Asked Mike. I'm having a hard time believing that too, said Bud. Shut up, said Mike. The head ignored his request. Look, I'm just a head, so what do I know? But it sounds like you two are crazy for each other. Relationships are about compromise, Mike. If you're not willing to accept your partner's faults, you're never going to find someone to be happy with. Maybe you're right, said Mike. And Ellen, continued the head. He almost gestured to her with his tongue again, but decided against it at the last second. You have to be upfront with your partner. Even if you're afraid, you might scare him away. For example, you eating heads. It's probably something you should have included on your dating profile. Can't blame Mike for being shocked about it. You're right, said Ellen. Mike, I should have told you there was a severed head in my fridge before I invited you over. And I should have at least heard you out before I got so judgmental about it, Mike said. They held each other in a long embrace, and for the first time since Mike had found the head, it didn't feel awkward. It felt right. This is beautiful, said the head. Mike gave Ellen a kiss. Maybe we can make this work, he said. Really? Her eyes lit up like sapphires. She squeezed Mike so hard he thought she might crack his ribs. Even though I eat heads? Even though you eat heads, Mike said. I'm really happy for you guys, said Bud. If I had arms, I'd get in on this hug too. Provided Mike put some pants on. So, Mike said to Ellen, what did they taste like? You mean the heads? It depends on how you cook them. I whipped up a nice balsamic glaze for Bud. It's kind of my specialty. Too bad it has to go to waste, said Bud from the counter. That does sound good, Mike said. Maybe I should try it sometime. Ellen was beaming. If you're serious, I'll call my head guy tomorrow. Why wait? Said Mike. I mean, you've already gone and prepped everything. Why don't we eat now? Do you see another head in the fridge? Asked Bud. No, but I see a perfectly good one on the counter. Mike grinned. Oh, Mike. I don't know. Ellen was beginning to waffle. The heads I cook are already dead. I'm not sure if I could kill a living, breathing thing. He doesn't have lungs, so he's already not breathing, Mike responded. Besides, he's just a head. What quality of life could he possibly have like that? We'd be doing him a service. Hey, said Bud, I'm not just some post-sex midnight snack. Screw it, said Ellen. I'm kind of hungry too. Let's do it. Ellen switched on the oven and set it to preheat, then pulled a roasting pan out of the pantry. You're not really thinking about cooking me, are you? Asked Bud. The lovers moved in unison, as if performing a waltz inside Ellen's little kitchen, grabbing pots and various spices from the pantry and placing them on the counter beside Bud. Every now and then they would stop, only long enough to plant a kiss on their partner or to season the head, despite its protests. Please! Bud begged, his mouth full of spices and garlic cloves. Don't eat me! The oven chimed, signaling it was ready. Ellen reached into the fridge and pulled out her special glaze and started pouring it over Bud, taking care to saturate every inch of him. That does smell really good, said Mike. He patted Ellen on the butt. Promise it'll taste good too. She smiled. Not as good as you. Mike and Ellen smooched as she poured the last of her special glaze over Bud. Oh, it's going up my nose, pleaded the head. She finished up and opened the oven door. Bud began crying when he felt the first wave of heat hit him in the face, but the lovebirds were too caught up in each other's gaze to pay him any mind. Together they lifted the roasting pan off the counter, slid it inside the oven, and closed the door. The head started screaming again, and this time, it was from the agony rather than fear. "Now I'll just set the timer for 45 minutes, and we'll be ready to eat," Ellen said. "Great. What should we do till then?" Mike asked. "Oh, I've got an idea." Ellen spun around and slinked towards the bedroom. When she got to the doorway, she twisted back towards Mike, and with her finger motioned for him to follow before disappearing into the dimly lit room. "Time for round 2, Mike said. "Ah!" Bud said. Mike opened the fridge and grabbed 2 bottles of water this time, then hurried off to fulfill his erotic desires. The couple made love. It was fervent and sensual, and as they pleasured each other, their lustful moans carried through the air. So loud were their cries of passion that they could be heard from the kitchen, drowning out even the screams of Bud, whose skin was slowly blistering off of his face. Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta. I want to tell you thank you so much for watching today's video on YouTube or listening to today's episode of the podcast on the podcast. Tonight, I'm going to let you know about a couple of authors that I really love their work of, and I think all of you have too. Usually in my live streams, you guys will tell me some of your favorite stories, but these ones constantly show up, and I feel like a lot of you don't know that there's actual novels that continue on from the stories that you just hear on YouTube. And in some cases, I even do the audiobooks for them that you can find on Audible. 3 of which I want to let you know about right now. The Neverglades, Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3 are available right now on Amazon, both on Kindle and on paperback. And My Tiny Town Just Got Put on Lockdown is available on Amazon as one major novel that contains both Season 1 and Season 2, which is not done on the channel yet, as well as a brand new one called The Study, an Effluvium Hayes novel, which continues the story of My Tiny Town Just Got Put on Lockdown. And of course, I think one of everybody's favorite series is on here, Tales from the Gas Station, currently has a 4th volume that has just come out. I did the audiobooks for Volume 1 through 3. 4 will come out eventually. So, without further ado, I want to give a very big thank you to Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Stephanie Butler, Bobby Karman, Tonya Oran, Tristain Pelton, Chance Burnett, Diana Kraus, That One Guy, Lupita Galvan, That Creepy Chick, Tyler Fletcher, Rebecca Harper, MerkyMoo, Red Shadow Cat, Xavier the Cheyenne, Demyx, Shawn Cadieu-baker, 6 Gay Rats in a Trench Coat, Turtleman, Rob Like Sharp Things, KhaosArts, Kryolinian, Milk and Miel, Zachary Graffius, Goreng Tramagasi, Maria Walker, Pain Gravy, Crazy Kid, Mr. Marcus Blitz, Aka Limchalk, Dirt Diver, Matt Bach, Jabbles Raz, Voice of Sand, Coffee Zombie, Matthew McNeese, Shelly J, Jeremy H, Raltazal, Ficomel, Nana, Nick Weaver, Deleted Account, Melted Lake, Tali Sue, Guy Mara Ravenswood, William King, Darth Miver, Michael Ortiz, Satanic Aries, Nessie, Ronnie Hansen, Bardo Hawk 764, Lambda M98, Harley, Sashi Suzaku, Croconut 509, My Body Sounds Like Rice Krispies, Kaylee Ambrose, Suji Campbell, Frickin', Azarine Fox, Freddy Krueger, Nicholas Zaccardi, Happy Birthday Jason Wilson, Lisa Cottrell, Caspian, Hades Nephew, Tater Chip, Acid System, Prozac and Pancake Appreciation Society, Cryptic Nightmares, Kiwi the Sloth, Tommy Green, Fester's Lampshade, Guy Harbor, Nico Kyle, Rafael Rodriguez, The Ginger Bros, Aaron Stormcrow, Daniel Polson, and Corey Kenshin. As always, thank you guys so very, very much. Thank all of you who are in the description down below, and honestly, thank all of you that can give anything, even when it comes down to just $1. I appreciate you guys very, very much. Sweet dreams.